What's going on, guys? It's your boy Juan Mango coming at you with another video. So basically this one is my deck profile on Overlord the Cross, or the X, or whatever way you want to say it. I say the X, whatever, doesn't matter. But basically I've been testing this deck out and I'm loving it a lot. At first I was kind of like iffy about it, plus it's not a really good premium card, but it's a very good card for standard. It fixes the first grade 3 ride for Overlord and Kagura in general, just because our first ride is so underwhelming that we don't recover very well in putting pressure or anything like that. So let's get into this deck profile. So the first card we have is Dragonic Overlord the X, or the Cross. I like to call the X because X is going to give it to you. And this card is definitely going to give it to you. With this card paired with the N, which basically that's the only card that really works with this right now. I'm pretty sure maybe later on in the future we're going to have other cards, but right now this is what works with the N. You Soul Blast 1, you get a copy of the N, put it into the Soul, it gains all its ability. So it's gonna be able to attack 3 times and restand. What makes it great is the continuous ability, which your first one is that no matter how many cards you have in hand, it counts at 0. So that means if you need to meet a requirement that lets you either restand or draw a card or something because you have 4 cards or less in your hand, this card allows it to be you could have 20 cards in hand and it says that you have 0, which makes it so good for us to be able to survive the next turn. Because the problem we've been having is that we get to the end and then we do all the ability, but then we don't have enough cards in hand because we have to discard 3. We have to spam the field to be at 4 and then discard 3 and then be at 4 to stand again, which it just this ability should have been on the end, but it is what it is. We're moving on. And then the last ability is if your opponent is at grade 3 or higher, none of your drive checks are going to go from 0 to less than 0. So that means on that last attack that usually you would have with the N, you wouldn't get to drive check anything. You could be at 33 and they could be at 30 and they could just throw a 5k block to end it, where there's no threat of hitting a trigger. So we run 4 of this card. Second card, the other grade 3 is going to be Dragonic Overlord the End. Basically, this is the only card that kind of really works well with the Cross. The grade, no. And because you want to ride and be able to bring the grade 2 to the field, which that doesn't allow, the Cross don't allow that. And the other Overlord is the grade 1, which is particularly not good for this situation. You want to steer away from those two. So to me, right now, this is the only card that really you can take full advantage of riding the Cross. With this one, you're going to restand 3 times, and it eliminates a lot of the negative. The Cross eliminates a lot of the negatives of this card. So to discard 3 and then you lose a drive check, and then when you counter blast, Soul Blast, and then you lose another drive check. And you have to have an Overlord in the Soul, and that was the problem we were having. You would have to ride, if you ride this first, okay, you have to ride this first, but most of the times you're not able to stand again on the first, if this is your first ride, where now we have the threat to put pressure turn 1, especially if you go second. Turn 1, you're able to restand 3 times and then you don't have enough cards to survive. So we run 4 of this card. Now moving on to the grade 2s, we are running Dragon Full Armor Buster. We run this at 3. Reason being because it's a searcher. It guarantees you the search for the X. So if you don't have the X in hand, it guarantees you the search for Soul Blast 2. And if it happens that they have a rear guard in their field, you're able to destroy a rear guard. So you got removal and you got a guaranteed the X. So if for some reason you don't search it with the other searcher and you don't get it, then this card right here is going to be able to go into your deck, make sure you get the card you want so you can ride. Most of the time I'll go overhead. If I don't already have them in hand, I'll do this, just because you're gonna see in the deck there are other stuff. Yes, this deck is a little bit, you need soul for this deck to run, but I think with the other 2 cards that I put in to kind of counter the 2 soul that you're paying here, you can make the deck work, and you can make it that, you know, paying this 2 soul, it isn't going to stop you from actually doing your abilities. So the next card we're going to introduce is Dragonic Dragon. So with this card is, you're going to counterblast 1, put a normal unit from your drop zone to the bottom of the deck. So what I like to do with this is be able to put back the end that I just put in the grave, and then make sure I can put them back in the deck. And with that, I'm able to continue the cycle. If for some reason I'm going a long game, or maybe you might have drove check a damage check the end, you want to make sure you can continue the cycle of being able to do that, because without the ends in your deck, the cross is not going to work. The cross doesn't have his own abilities to restand, so the deck is just going to be, it's not going to be good. But with this also, you get to destroy grade 2, and then if you have the 4 cards or less, which the cross has the ability, is that you're able to draw cards. So with the ability of him being at 0, your hand sign being at 0, you're able to draw a card. So this card works great. You need to run this card, and we run this card at 3. I think I want to bump it up to 4, but I have to look at my ratios and see exactly what I want to do with it. But I want to go ahead and bump it up to 4. I believe so. I think so. Don't know yet. So you can play around with the numbers with the grade 2s. I think the grade 2s is where you're going to have a lot of free, where you can move numbers around. But the grade 2s that I'm going to show you are, I feel like, the most important grade 2s you need to run. The next grade 2 that we're going to speak about is Monroe Dragon. This card right here makes a deck worth running. You know what I'm saying? Just because on place, look at top 7, and if you see an Overlord DX, put it into your hand. No cost. All you need to do is call it. This, I'll tell you right now, I've never had a card like this that much, where I'm just like placed and then possibly able to get something. I love this. Because we don't have to waste Counterblast, and we don't have to waste Soul Blast, which we need those in this deck. We need it with a lot of the other cards that we need. This is great that we're able to possibly get these cards, and it filters out the X. You want to go ahead and get them all out, even though you might just ride them one time, which I've done it before, where I just ride one time and I can win that way. It's fine, because this gives you fodder to be able, when you have to discard, you can discard your grade 3s, right, and then keep all those 15Ks and those important 10Ks for you to block, to be able to survive whatever your opponent has to do. And the second ability is, when your Vanguard attacks and you have 4 cards or less, again, meets a requirement because of the Cross's ability, you get to put 5K on this. You're basically attacking 3 times. So your first attack, 5, your second attack, 5, and your third attack, 5, 15. So already by himself, he's attacking for 25. Now imagine if you ride again, you put Force 2 behind underneath him, and also you, let's say, put an ammo. So you're looking at 36 2 crits coming to your Vanguard. So I run 4 of these. So the next card we have is Wavering Strike Dead Cat. Now this right here is, I feel like it's the backbone of the grade 2s in sense of putting pressure and taking cards out of your opponent's hand. So his ability is, you counterblast 1, put him into the soul for Dragonic Overlord the N. So you have to make sure you use the ability first for the cross before you bring this out and use the ability. If you use it before, it's not going to count because the N wasn't on the field. So you got to make sure that, because I believe the X takes over the name of the N as well. So you counterblast, put this in soul. Once you put this in soul, your opponent has to call 2 cards to block. Now, if you're at your first attack, usually it's 13k. So attack for 13k, they have to drop 2 cards. Then attack, maybe counterblast, soul blast, attack for another 13k. They still got to drop 2 cards, and then attack for the bigger one. So it lets you see 3 cards before you have to discard, which I like doing that a lot more, better than having to discard first. Now, if I don't play this card, then I'll do the discard first and then stand. But for right now, this card right here is gonna be your backbone, and I run this at 3. So moving on to the grade 1, one of the grade 1s that allows you to do a lot more plays with this deck is Flaming of Scorching Heat, Gilbill. So his ability is at the end of battle boosted. If you have 4 cards or less in your hand, again, there goes that ability. Put this in the soul, and one of your Vanguard gets +5. So what I like to do with this card is I usually put them on one of my rear guards. So I have my rear guard that's gonna be a big column, and it's gonna attack for 25. And then I have another rear guard which is just a 10k or whatever it is, and I make him 18. And either I'll attack to try to either get a quick damage, or attack and he has to discard a 10k or a 15 out of his hand before I go in. And then when I put this in the soul, my Vanguard then becomes, instead of 13, he becomes 18. So now I'm attacking for 18, which you can't then drop a 15k and say, oh, 2 to pass. You have to drop 2 cards. So that's why I like to do this, or drop a 20k, which at the end of the day, I'll drop a 20k on my first attack. I'm good with it. So to get rid of those cards out of his hand, and it goes into soul. So what's great about this is that it goes into soul. So when you had to pay for 2, this card right here and Wyvern Strike, they both go into soul, which helps you continue fueling, because remember, you got a soul blast 1 for him, and you got a soul blast 2 for the X. You got a soul blast 1 for the X, and then you got a soul blast 2 for Wyvern, not Wyvern, Buster. You got a soul blast 2 for Buster to try to get that card in your hand, and then soul blast 1 to get into soul. And at times you do not, if you can't ride over and you cannot have a soul, you're not going to be able to do the ability, and there's nothing you can do before to put a soul into before you go into your battle phase. Now you can there's nothing you can do. So this is a great tech. I run this at 4. So the second grade 1 is Saber Dragon. His ability is if he's on Vanguard and he hits, he gets to draw a card. But when he's a rear guard, if you retire an opponent's unit, so you don't kill it or whatever, you get to pop this, retire that card, and draw a card. So sometimes when you need to put pressure on the field and then possibly at the end retire something, you get to pop this, put it into the grave, and then you get to draw a card. So you go 1 for 1, plus you retired something else. So right now I feel like this one is a must. You can play with it, it's flexible, but I run this at 4. So the last card we want to run is Flame of Hope Airmo. Your unflipper, 4 of, you need to run 4. That's it. It unflips when you retire something and retire that card. It unflips the damage and you draw a card. That's it. We run 7 crits. So we run 7 crits between these two, 4 heals, and 5 draws. And we're running the perfect guard draw. So we're running 4 of those, and we're running 1 of him. I had him at 2, but I feel like you want to hit if you hit the crit, early, then you're gonna put a lot of pressure on later when you do go force 2. So with that being said, guys, let me take you to some gameplay and enjoy. Alright guys, so a little context here with this match is that the soul is to your right and the damage is to your left. That's my buddy. He's using, his soul is going to be to his right as well, and his damage is going to be to his left. So he went ahead and I went first, he went second, so he's going to attack me here, deals me a damage. Now as you can see, we're going to go into the ride, the second, yeah, we're going to go to Enigma Dragon, Enigma Road, and we're going to search. We look at 7, we get it, boom, right off the top of the 7, and we draw the card. Now we're attacking for 1. Your damage, he's thinking about it. So I get nothing, and he takes damage. So he goes Blaster Dart. So he's going to go ahead and swing for 2. I say I'm going to block that, because if he gets a trigger or anything, it's going to go to the rear guard. So he does get a crit. And he deals me... No, he doesn't get a crit. He got a trigger, but... So he deals me 1 damage. Now, this is where we go into Force 2. And now I'm thinking, do I want to... I can't do all the... I can't get everything, so am I going to swing? No, but I did do... Well, I got another one, so I ended up doing that. So I Soul Blasted 2, destroyed a rear guard, and went ahead and attacked them, and I used his ability. So we're going. We got a critical, which is great. So we put it all on the Vanguard. Oh no, wait, no. Yeah, no, we put it on the rear guard. I'm sorry. So I guess we put that on the rear guard to put more pressure. So he blocked there. He took 2 damage. So he got a trigger. Because we were only going to swing twice. We only swing twice. We weren't going to do it again. And he blocked that as well. Just fine. We didn't want to give up 3... well, we did give up 3 cards. We gave up 3 cards in hand. We didn't want to give up the Soul Blast to stand again. Because we don't have the... We can't give up the Soul Blast. Due to the fact that if we gave up that Soul Blast, we were going to not be able to do it next turn. So that's the reason why we didn't give up the Soul Blast at that point. A Counter Blast, Soul Blast. So going, he's doing his ability where he gets extra power, but he doesn't have the crit, so I'm fine with it. We'll take a damage. He did get a crit. Oh no he didn't. So we ended up here. We're riding again. So it gives us another force marker. And this is super strong when you have 2 force markers. Now we Soul Blast, since we have 2 Soul Blasts, and we're going to call another one again. Use the ability. So now we're going to put pressure on him since he's at 3. And we're going to attack his rear guard. Attack there for 13. He has to drop 2 cards per attack. That gives 5 plus to Enigma Road. And let's see what he does. He takes that. So he dropped 3. He got no triggers. So we're going to end up attacking it again for 23. So he's giving up more cards. We drive check nothing. So now we Counter Blast, Soul Blast. And he perfect guards that. So I did get a trigger, so I ended up putting it on the other one, which then was 35. With 35 2 crits is strong, especially now that he's at that. So you can't see his hand, but he only had 1 card left. Now my thing is, if he gets a crit here, then we can't take a damage. So we're gonna go ahead and block this. And and we're just deciding what we want to block. Boom. So we make sure we block almost for almost an O pass, but he attacked the rear. That's fine. We don't care about that because we have another one in hand. We don't search. We don't care to search there. So we're putting everything in there, and now we're just attacking. He attacks there. I believe we didn't even do the effect. And that was the game. Hey guys, so if you liked the video, please make sure you leave a like, and if you have any concerns, please leave a comment down below. And if you enjoy this content, please leave a subscribe, and welcome to Mango family. Other than that, like I always say, guys, I'm not the best Vanguard player in the world, but I'm alright though. Thank you so much, and